All right, good morning. It's good to see. It's actually the second day of September 2019. I trust that you are well. And first of all, congratulations for making it to another month. Thank you very much for joining us on My Doctor. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Now, last week, we dealt with matters antimicrobial resistance, but of course, we focused more a little bit on some of the habits, some of the drugs that we mostly overuse that contribute to antimicrobial resistance. It's very, very important for us to continue with the same topic, but on a different angle, and that is what we are going to tackle today, and that is on environmental factors that contribute as well to antimicrobial resistance and why this is a problem, because antibiotic or antimicrobial resistance accounts for hundreds of thousands of deaths annually. And of course, recent research points to the environment as an important component for the transmission of resistant bacteria and in the emergence of resistant pathogens. All right, so that is what we want to focus on today. Some of the things that we do, of course, that end up affecting the environment, which again ends up causing antibiotic or antimicrobial resistance. So you want to stick around till the end of the show and get a better understanding of some of the things that we need to change as far as just health is concerned, but also taking care of the environment so that it can take care of us as human beings and also our animals. All right. So if you have any question in relation to the same, then feel free to call us live. 0791-478-990 is the number to call through, or send us a text message on 40920, and of course we'll be more than glad to answer all your questions, if any, or any concern or clarification on the same. So my guest is here. He was here last week, but just in case you're tuning in today for the very first time, then let's meet him. Good morning.
Good morning.
Karibu sana, Dr. Njenga. It's so good to have you with us.
Thank
but
you so
again,
much.
just in case someone is tuning in today for the very first time and thinking, okay, who's that gentleman on set? Kindly say hi to the people.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Dr. Njenga. I'm a general practitioner in private practice. Welcome to the show.
All right. And now last week, like I said, we focused mostly on, matters to do with some of the things that we do, some of the habits that probably, we have, and not knowing that really ends up causing antimicrobial resistance.
Yes.
So can we just go back to a little bit of what we discussed last week on some of the things that we touched on?
Thank you so much, Winnie. In case you're joining us for the very first time today, is a continuation of what we started last week, a topic called antimicrobial resistance. So in a very short while, let me just define what is antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance, last week we said, is the ability of the microbes. And microbes here we talk about bacteria, fungus, viruses, protozoa, that ability of the microbes to defeat the substance, especially the drug that has been designed to kill and to destroy it in your body system. So whenever that happens, that ability of that microbe to defeat the substance and especially the medicines, if that happens, then that condition is called antimicrobial resistance. We talked about some of the contributing factors. More so, last week we dealt more on the issue of the habits that we develop as human beings or as people, especially in this nation, because we are in this country, but also this is happening in other nations. Habits that would trigger or would facilitate antimicrobial resistance. One of the habits we talked about is self-medication, whereby you have a cold. Cold is viral, first of all, in origin, but you find many people, they have a common cold, they go to the pharmacy or the chemist, they buy the antibiotics.
Yes.
There are even diarrhea. Most of the diarrheas we have in the world are not bacterial in origin. Most of them are viral or even protozoa in origin or other causes, but many of them are not bacterial. So that is one of the habits, self-medication. The other habit we talked about is whereby a person is not compliant to medication. For instance, you've been given a 5-day dose of antibiotics to treat pneumonia or an infection in your body. On the 3rd day, you're feeling better, you stop the medication. So you make the bacteria to be resistant. Why? The antibiotic that you're going to use on the 3rd day will have responded to killing some substantial amount of the bacteria in your body, and then you stop. So the rest that remain will have to develop a mechanism either by mutation or change, whatever way they are going to use, and mostly by mutation, to try and now change so that when that thing occurs later in life, when you use the same antibiotic, they are going to resist. They are not going to be killed as you expect. So that is the second habit. The 3rd habit, we said availability. Availability of medication. Nowadays, antibiotics are readily available in the market in this country. So it is an easy way. You find becomes easy for somebody to go to a chemist, just buy the medication. It is easily accessible and available. The other thing we could talk about is failure to go seek medical attention. That is also self-prescription. Failure to go seek medical attention when you have suffered a condition, or reusing the antibiotic that you were given before because of a condition, and then this condition comes over again. You just say, see, that time I suffered the same, let me just use the same antibiotic. And you don't know, maybe this is a very different condition, but it has presented as the first condition. Those are some of the things that we looked into last week when we were talking about antimicrobial resistance. We touched a little bit on animal farming and husbandry, but I think today is when we are going to deal more on that, other factors that contribute to antimicrobial resistance. To add on that, I would also want to say that we made a classification and said, how does antimicrobial resistance occur? And we said, number one, it can occur naturally. Because even before the discovery of the antibiotics, it was found that even as penicillin, the first antibiotic to be discovered in around 1920-something, 27, 28 there, by Alexander Fleming, he realized that at that same time, some of the microbes had already become resistant. So naturally occurring. Everything changes. There's always a change, even in an organism. They usually change. They evolve. They mutate. They change their structure and all that. Number two, we said number one is naturally occurring. Number two, we talked about some genes of a certain species transferring resistance to another gene of the same species. That is called horizontal gene transfer. Because if you have a certain bacteria A, like we have bacteria that cause pneumonia, like Pseudomonas pneumoniae, those bacteria have species. One species of that bacteria could have already developed the resistance, and now it wants to transfer that resistance to the other gene. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Wow. Then on that note, that becomes like really, of course, difficult to then
address.
to address, because I'm thinking, so if it transfers, then meaning, let's say the medication that one was on is sort of not working to deal with it. And are there things that trigger the same, like the organism transferring, of course, the resistant to the other species? Are there things that we do?
Yeah, there are things that we do that trigger. For instance, overuse of antibiotics. You could use antibiotic for a very long time. And this could be on your side maybe, or even on the health practitioner side. They have prescribed an antibiotic for too long. So when you see, we say that whenever you have a microbe or an a bacteria in your body, and then you start using this medication, first of all, it will eliminate the bacteria that are are sensitive to that antibiotic or antimicrobial. But you will find if you use it over a long period of time, those bacteria that were not dying, now they will develop a kind of defense mechanism. So you see the duration of antibiotic use. That is one of the practice that could be a risk factor or a triggering factor to these genes transferring the same resistance to another gene. That is number one. Number two, it could also, when we use low or ineffective medication. For instance, it is usually important to use the right antibiotic for the right condition. Because sometimes we can prescribe an antibiotic totally different that cannot be used to treat a certain condition. So it is very important as healthcare practitioners to actually use the right antibiotic or antimicrobial for the correct diagnosis that we have made. Yes.
Okay. And you see, we're talking about antimicrobial resistance, antibiotic resistance. You know, it seems like really scientific, and of course the things that we're talking about today is a little bit scientific. But of course, we'll try and make it as simple as possible. But now the biggest question that I think most people will have is, then why is this a problem, or how big a problem is antibiotic resistance or antimicrobial resistance? What does it do to us as human beings?
Really,
before we get to environment?
It is very dangerous for us to be talking about antimicrobial resistance. It is a topic that we cannot just wish away because it is happening.
It's happening,
and it is one of the greatest public health problems that the world is facing right now. Leave alone this country that is developed, even the developed countries. They are dealing with antimicrobial resistance. Why? Because once you develop antimicrobial resistance, what does it mean? It is going to be difficult to treat that organism. So what will happen to you? It will be so costly, number one. Is that not a concern and a disadvantage and a drawback in healthcare management? Very expensive, whether it's the government catering for it or it's the people. An individual. So it becomes effective. Number two, it could become very difficult to treat the condition, to eliminate that bacteria. So what will happen? Maybe that bacteria is in the kidney. Will it not destroy the organ completely? The other thing is death. So it is a concern that the world today is unable to deal with antimicrobial resistance, especially because of the cost. We have other things to do. Many other things we need to do. Like right now we are talking about cancers. There is always TB.
TB, especially for TB, but we've come a long way with TB.
Yeah, we've come a long way. We've really tried. But you see, that is also a health concern. We have HIV, at least we've managed. But you see, we have other things to address other than be addressing the antimicrobial resistance. So it becomes a big issue in the world today. Very big issue.
And especially you talked about the fact that this is not only in developing or underdeveloped countries, but also in developed countries, which then becomes like a major concern.
Even in the US.
Exactly. And of course the aspect of, because even recently we've had cases, just to digress a little bit, cases of fake antibiotics
there you go.
in the country. And you see, if we are not careful, as a population, as a society, then of course we might end up getting our hands into the fake, kind of antibiotics, which cause more harm than good.
And how do you know that this antibiotic you as Winnie is fake? It's very difficult. It is very difficult. And if you see the World Health Organization issuing an alert that in Kenya and in Uganda, there is an antibiotic that is circulating that is fake by the name Augmentin. So if I prescribe antibiotic, argumenting today, I give you a prescription, you just go to the chemist. I did my work as a healthcare practitioner, but look now, there are loopholes that has led that antibiotic to enter into the market. So it is the relevant government agencies to make sure that the health of a population is protected by ensuring we don't have counterfeits or fake medication.
Yeah,
yes.
And of course this becomes a problem. I know people might be like, okay, so, okay.
Well, yes.
But it's very, very important,
yes.
you know, for us to address it, because like we said, most of us just go to you know, a chemist or a pharmacy and get whatever antibiotic that you, of course, think that will help you treat, but again, it will not. So it's very, very important for us to address that. All right, we need to take a very short commercial break. I'm sorry, Doc, but when we come back, of course, we'll address that and then get into now the environmental factors that contribute to antimicrobial resistance. So you want to stick around for that and much, much more. But remember, if you have any other question in relation to the same, any concern or clarification, then feel free to call us live or 791-478990 or send us a text message on 40920 and we'll be answering your questions as soon as we get them. See you after this very short break. All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. Just in case you are tuning in right now, today we are talking about antimicrobial resistance, but of course focusing more on the environment. And earlier on, before we went for break, of course, we you know, highlighted some of the habits that we do. Of course, a discussion that we tackled last week that probably contribute to antimicrobial or antibiotic resistance. So again, if you have any other question in relation to the same, we're live. So that means you can call in anytime and we'll be able to answer your question, your concern, clarification, or any other information that you want to have as far as antimicrobial resistance is concerned. And of course, my guest is here, Dr. Njenga, to handle or to answer all your questions, but as well give us the info that we need to have as far as some of the environmental factors that contribute to antimicrobial resistance and why this is a really big concern, you know, especially in the country and other regions. All right, let's just say this is like a global concern. So again, Dr. Njenga is here to answer all your questions. And Dr. Njenga, just going direct into now the topic of discussion today, that is on the environment.
Yes.
And antimicrobial resistance. And you know, most of us might not really think about you know, the environment having sort of like an impact in terms of contributing to antimicrobial resistance, which in the end, of course, causes harm to us human beings and animals. So can you just go right into it? The environment, how is that like a big concern, and how does it happen in terms of you know, resistance occurring in the environment that of course ends up causing harm to the people and the animals?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. I want us to actually discuss and explore how the environment contributes to antimicrobial resistance. And we are going to make maybe some classifications, the environmental factors. Number one, we are going to talk about waste, water waste management.
All right.
We are also going to talk about farming. This is both animal and plant farming, and see how these factors could lead to antimicrobial resistance. We can start with farming. Last week we touched on it a little bit when we talked about animal farming, and we are talking about animal foods farming because there are animals that we keep and we don't eat them. But we are talking about the animals that we eat, the livestock, the poultry, and the rest. One of the things you find, animals also fall sick. They fall sick and they are treated. So we are talking about veterinary medicine here.
All right.
The aspect of veterinary medicine, how does this veterinary medicine result to antimicrobial resistance? Yes, yet it is an animal. If an animal today falls sick and it is not properly treated, it is not treated appropriately by a qualified veterinary doctor or veterinary officer, then the same way it happens in a human being, the antibiotic, because even in animals we use antibiotics. The antibiotics we use to treat the animals will definitely eliminate the sensitive bacteria and leave the bacteria that are not sensitive, and then they will mutate, change, and become resistant. At one time, this animal is going to be slaughtered, and then we are going to eat the animal. We are going to consume. So number one, one of the things that will make us develop resistance is because we are going to acquire, because some people would eat raw meat. Raw meat. Others would eat properly uncooked meat that contains that is contaminated with microbes, resistant microbes. So that microbe, that bacteria gets access to our body because we've already eaten it. So when you fall sick, or this bacteria enters your system, starts to multiply, replicate very fast, or very slowly, by the time you get the condition, when you are treated, because already it had developed resistance in the animal, subsequently it will also develop resistance in you. So that is one of the causes.
Okay. And can I just ask, still on animals, and how then does resistance come about? Is it the same concept as human beings? And for instance, of course, we talked about an aspect where, of course, an animal falls sick, poultry falls sick, and then they're given medication. Of course, it's different from human beings. But now, how then does resistance rather comes in? Because coming from a rural area where, of course, I've seen animals getting sick and, of course, treated, and they get well. So then how does resistance come about in animals?
It comes about because we have said the practice we use, improper treatment.
Improper treatment.
Yes,
all right. Okay.
lack of proper treatment, even overuse at the same time. You would find now the farmer has learned, this cow was behaving, the cows get even pneumonia, was having pneumonia last time. The symptoms were like this. So even this time I think it's pneumonia. Let me just go to the veterinary chemist and buy the same drug that the veterinary doctor prescribed. So do you see also there is self-medication in the aspect of the farmer?
And what I've also noticed, again, what I've seen around, especially at home and the people around us, is most of the time they tend to think they know what the animal is suffering from. Because, I mean, someone has had like an animal for like better part of their lives. So they think they know, when an animal behaves a certain way, then this must be this condition. When an animal behaves a certain way, it's this particular condition. And again, self-medicate.
Self-medicate.
Right. Okay.
Makes sense. The other aspect of animal is farming in this land, in this country. You find that the feeds that the animals are given, they have low-dose antibiotics for growth. Low-dose antibiotics. What will happen? You have given this cow, this poultry, this goat, this sheep, the low-dose antibiotic over a long period of time.
Okay.
And you see, this antibiotic, because this animal has bacteria that are normal in them, the normal commensals in the gut, and you have exposed this animal to low-dose antibiotic, this bacteria will become resistant to this antibiotic. And you see, the same class of antibiotics we use in animals is the same type of class of antibiotics we use in human beings. But the difference is these ones are for the animals, these ones are for human beings. So when now you consume the products of these animals, so already they have developed resistance. So you will consume it, you will introduce the pathogen, the bacteria, into your body, into your system. When you try to treat it with the same antibiotic that is used in the foodstuff, it will not destroy. You will use another one. Maybe it has become, the defense mechanism is so strong, it cannot be killed it cannot be destroyed by the antibiotic that you're using. So you are forced to use a higher, a broader spectrum than the one you used before, and maybe, you know, gradually resistant continues like that. So even animal feeds.
All right. And what about, and what would you say in terms of, you see the kind of, especially chicken, which I think almost everybody loves chicken. And especially those other ones. Forget about the ones, zile za kienyeji. These other ones, you know, the broilers and all that. And of course, we all know that they use a lot of, foods, actually commercial foods. Exactly. Yeah, to feed them, and then after a month,
they are big. They are ready for consumption.
Yeah, is that a concern as well?
Yeah, that's
in terms of
that's a concern because that's where now we are talking about the feeds have been fortified by the antibiotics for growth promotion.
Yes.
That is detrimental to a human health of a person. Even the general health, apart from even the antimicrobial resistance. Because when you take the kienyeji, the indigenous chicken you're talking about, 1 month it is just but a small thing.
Yeah.
For it to be edible, I think you'll be talking about 6 months down the line or so. So you see that aspect of animal feeds is what promotes the growth here. And that is why we are saying during that period, these antibiotics that are in this feed will promote bacterial resistance in the animal, and then that will be transmitted subsequently to a human person.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. And then, so is it determinant? How then does, not how, but after how long would we say a person develops antibiotic or antimicrobial resistance, especially from you know, the animals? Because is it determinant on exposure, like how long someone has been eating the feeds, or what determines
there could be many factors.
Right.
One of them could be exposure over a long time. Because if today you eat those chicken once and you stay for a long time without eating that chicken, you are not the same as the person who consumes the same, like on a daily basis or weekly many times. That is exposure and the duration. And also I would also say another thing that could affect is your general health. What if you're somebody who has multiple diseases? Yeah, you have multiple conditions. So you see already your body is at risk. You're weak. Your body is weak, is vulnerable to entry, is vulnerable to bacteria invading it. So if you now add this product here, which has resistance
in it,
antimicrobial resistance, you'll be making your condition even worse. Yes. So you are at risk. So those are some of the factors. Yes.
All right. And before we conclude on animals, earlier on we were talking about manures, which really shocked me because again, people think that going the manure way, so that is eating food from. They call it organic.
Organic,
is it this?
It's I don't know whether it's organic.
Is it organic?
Organic manure.
Yeah. Okay, organic manure. So we think that that's like the healthier way because compared to the fertilizers, which of course has chemicals and all that, so we tend to sort of shy away from, let's say, foods that have been, you know, planted, of course, using fertilizer. So we tend to go the manure way. Yes. But you said that is like a very big risk. Again,
it's a death sentence. We are actually signing a death sentence.
Yeah.
Let me recap and say that either beginning of this year or last year, the government through the Ministry of Agriculture passed a law banning use of manure in farming, and people went gun blazing. Oh, how can the government do this? How can it arrest somebody when they're just using their product to do farming? It is the best, it's the safest. But I want to submit to this interview today that it is not safe.
How? Because it just comes from the animal.
It is very unsafe because this is human waste.
Okay.
Not human
animal
waste. Animal waste, I'm sorry. Animal waste, in the gut of the animal, there are millions of bacteria.
All right.
millions of them. And we have already said this animal in one time or another falls sick.
Okay.
It's given antibiotics. This animal is given feeds that have low dose antibiotics. So those microorganisms or bacteria that are found in animal waste definitely will have developed resistance. You use the same manure to plant crops, vegetables. Those vegetables get the microorganism, the vegetables and the fruits.
Yeah.
They get the microorganism, they grow with the microorganism, they are harvested, they are brought to the market. We take them, we consume them, we take the the bacteria that has already developed resistance. Do you see how dangerous it is? We handle the manure with our own hands.
Sure.
We don't wash our hands well, especially in rural areas. We just go, we wash our hands with water. There is no soap. We are in a hurry. We want to eat. We have been collecting the manure, putting in the shamba there. And then we have already the bacteria here. We consume. We ingest it. What else? We already have the antimicrobial resistance. That is auto-infection. You have infected yourself. You yourself, you've infected yourself. So manure waste.
Wow. Okay.
I think there should be a way, I don't know whether there is a way where this manure could be harvested, taken to a factory, and then processed in the right way.
All right, all right.
In the right way. Because we don't even know what it contains. We just say it's the healthiest.
Yeah.
Because that's what we found our grandmothers doing. They used to use animal manure waste to do farming, and they say, oh, you see how green the veggies are, the fruits are.
Yeah, and it's very tasty.
Yes.
But that is, so then that means everything is just trouble.
It is
like
trouble.
Everything is
it's trouble. Because one thing I want people to understand is that the gut, the alimentary canal of an animal, from the mouth up to when the waste comes out, it has bacteria, millions. And now this millions is what is in the waste. And that is waste now you're using for agriculture. You're using it for agriculture and then you're handling it. So in one way or another, you are also a contributing factor to antimicrobial resistance.
So then what do we do? Because now taking like meat or you know, poultry, anything like that, people say that now that is a problem. Because again, you do not know. And especially people in the urban areas where you don't know. You just go to the butchery, get your beef, get your
chicken,
exactly,
your
get goat, anything, pork, but we don't know. And then we try to go the sort of like the organic way.
Yes, and now you see the problem is there.
So what do we do? Do we not eat, or do we just,
what happens
we
then? Continue eating. I think we should improve on our practice.
All right.
Let us not use the indigenous ways that we used to use. Let us know that we are in another century. We are educated. We are people who have done veterinary medicine. We have, I don't know whether they are called horticulturists, people like those that will advise on how you do farming.
All right.
Let us use their expertise to do farming in the correct way, so that we don't misuse the foods, or even the companies that manufacture these foods. There is a guideline on how they manufacture these animal feeds that they don't. I don't know whether they are supposed to add the antibiotic, but I don't know. This is the government policy. Also, the relevant government agency, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, and Fisheries, even fish. You know, there's fish farming.
We're about to actually go on to aquaculture.
Yes. So all those things, let us embrace change in knowledge acquisition that we have right now, and use that knowledge. Because people have gone to school. Let us use them.
Use the knowledge.
Employ somebody in your farm. to take care of the animals. Yes, when they fall sick.
Yeah.
Don't become
Sort of
a doctor of your own animals.
A vet. All right. Okay. And then, of course, there's also an aspect of, and I think this is more of an urban setting problem.
Oh, yes.
And that is, of course, sanitation.
Waste, yes.
And waste management,
Yes.
and all that. So, of course, we're talking about sewage and treated and all those things.
yes.
So, yeah, so let's talk about how this as well contributes to antimicrobial resistance.
Thank you so much, Winnie. Waste management in our urban areas is very wanting. Go have a look at Nairobi River today. I don't know about, okay, I know Nairobi River because I was brought up in this city. So I know Nairobi River when it was very clean. But right now, when you go and see Nairobi River, you will be shocked.
Yeah. It's bad.
It is full of waste effluent that is untreated. So waste water management in our counties, in our cities is very wanting. So relevant city or counties should take measures to clean the water bodies or to control the disposal of wastewater. First of all, it should be treated because also human waste is full of bacteria. It is full of bacteria.
Sure.
And now when you dispose these bacteria to the environment, and we have talked about how resistance comes about, you could dispose a bacteria that was resistant.
True.
And then it goes to the water and it finds its way into the environment, goes, an animal eats the bacteria in the pasture, or this water somebody uses it for irrigation, to do farming. The veggies or the food, the fruits, the same phenomena we have used applies. So they are contaminated with a resistant bacteria. We come, we don't observe hygiene, we don't wash the fruit well, even the veggies well. We eat, we consume the resistant bacteria. So waste management, waste water management is a very important aspect, including in the industries. There are industries that are manufacturing drugs in this land.
The country.
Yes. Those industries should adapt or develop a proper waste management system such that they treat the waste first so that they can be able to release it to the environment so that it is safe. Because you find if they produce a lot of antibiotics, so they will dispose the antibiotics into the environment. Those antibiotics, when they go meet, continually, they meet the bacteria there, they in the water system, they kill. But now, it is for a long period, the bacteria develops resistance. And then we eventually get the bacteria by eating food products, either through animal feed, animal products, or through vegetables and fruits. So waste management is very important. That is why I think either last week I saw the Nema people close a factory in industrial area because of poor water waste management. They should continue all over this country, even in other counties, not only Nairobi, so that we can have a safe environment. Yes. And the same water, believe it, there is a river called Athi River here, and there is another river called Tana River. Those rivers empty into the Indian Ocean. Indian Ocean has aquatic animals, the fish, what. You see now, the same thing we are talking about.
Exactly, the cycle continues.
You continue introducing so many bacteria into the aquatic life. This fish gets the water. This water, is contaminated. The fish gets the bacteria. We take the fish. We don't cook it well. We get the bacteria that is
already resistant.
Waste management also finds its way in swimming pools. Some of the swimming pools, or the water that we use to fill the swimming pool is contaminated from the sewer or whatever. It goes we go swim there. See, sometimes we ingest the water. So we get the bacteria.
Yeah.
Simple practices. But you see, it's about water waste management.
Water waste management. I like that. And then another issue, of course, the sewage, which of course you walk around and it's just it's bad.
It's bad.
Even in neighborhoods where you don't really expect them to be like that, but you still see it.
The sewer.
Yeah. So then, of course, it's the same principle. Same principle, because it gets itself into, and most people would say, and especially when still in the urban setting where people are looking for houses, and they'll tell you, I want a house where they have like a borehole. Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, there's like a sewer. Yeah. Which is...
And the water is contaminated. Yep. Because you dig a borehole there, there is a sewer passing over there. Most probably, this sewer will leak to the water. And then you will be consuming this water. Sometimes they say they don't use that water for cooking, but you see, even handling, we've already said, even handling and improper hygiene will predispose you to getting the antimicrobial resistance, or the bacteria that is resistant eventually leading to antimicrobial resistance. Yes.
Yeah, so that of course needs to be looked at, especially you know, in the country. Of course, we also touched on an aspect of food safety, which again, it's still the same, the same cycle. But we also have like human-to-human contact. So can we talk about that just a little bit before we now go to how do we prevent cases of antimicrobial resistance and the complications that come about from the same?
Human-to-human contacts. Let me deal with the vulnerable people. For instance, the hospital setting.
Yes.
I would like to deal with that because hospital, last time we said, is a place that has a lot of microbes, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, parasites. They are common there, and especially hospital bacteria are very notorious. If I'm a health practitioner and I don't observe hygiene, hand washing, proper hand washing, after handling a patient, handling specimens in the lab, handling specimen as you do operation and so on and so forth, improper handling and improper sanitation. If now I don't do proper sanitation, I come, greet you, Winnie, I go to my house, my kids come, oh, hello, daddy, yes, how are you? I hold them, I touch them, already I have the bacteria. I transfer to them. Even visitors who are visiting health institutions. And that is why you find some health institutions have sanitizers placed at specific location. People coming to do visits should be taught, should be educated and told, whenever you come to this hospital, this ward to visit your patient, we are not saying that it's a dirty place, no, but there are commensals here, there are organisms here, there are microbes here. And you know, a microbe is minute, it is microscopic, you cannot see it with your own eyes. So let us observe hygiene, the highest level, because that is also another way of human to human transmission. Yes, those people who visit health institution, those people handling garbage. Yeah, you see how they handle. They don't have proper gears, gloves, what? And sometimes you find them handling garbage with their own bare hands. It is very
most of the
critical.
time that is what happens.
So garbage collectors should also be sensitized or be told you cannot expose your people that you've employed to health hazard, because also that is a health hazard in its way. But also they should know that health hazard could lead to transmission of a bacteria. Yes. People who handle manure at home. At home there are no gloves. You don't find people with gloves that I'm going to handle manure with. No, they handle with their hands, bare hands.
Yeah. And you say back in the rural areas, it's more like a communal setup.
Yes.
You know, you have visitors almost every day, every
day.
household has
Yes.
them, and again, the cycle continues. You say hi to them, you make food, you know, for them,
You
and
bring
all that.
fruits.
Yeah, you bring
Yes.
fruits, and
Yeah.
and we think sometimes we don't even have to wash it because, I
Yes.
mean, it's in the
It,
rural
they,
setting.
they say
It's
it has
clean.
just come from the tree.
It's clean.
Yes, very clean. But it has been
It
contaminated
has
by
been.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So don't do it. So then I think from this discussion, and not to scare people, because it seems like almost everything then is wrong.
Yeah.
You know, from the food,
Yes.
from, you know, handling manure, which we think it's safe, but it's not. You know, to eating, you know, the eating habits. You know, people don't wash, let's say, their fruits and
Yeah.
vegetables very well. Of course, eating beef, pork, chicken, fish, anything, you know, and all this seems like there is just something wrong, you know, in there.
Yes.
So very briefly, because I know we talked about some of the complications earlier on, just in case someone tuning in right now and missed that part of discussion, can we go through it very, very briefly, and then we'll talk about then how the prevention part.
Okay.
So that we do not get, and especially for the children, because they're still growing up.
Yeah, they're still growing up. So we talked about complications last week. We said one of the complications is, number one, in terms of the finances, it is very costly. It is very wanting when you develop resistance. That is number one. Number two, you could not only develop antimicrobial resistance, but you could also develop multiple drug resistance. That is now many drugs. Many drugs, when used against that condition or that organism, or the organism has already developed resistance. So you see, it is also hard to treat multiple drug resistance and also very costly. Number three, another complication is that it could make the condition that you're having untreatable.
Yeah.
Totally untreatable, incapacitating you. Maybe you are the breadwinner in your family. Now you become incapacitated. You cannot be able to feed your family. You are in hospital bed. You have been bedridden, and so on and so forth. Even, you know, this bacteria can bring a condition we call septicemia. That is, the blood is totally infected with the bacteria. Leading to even admission to ICUs, you know. And another complication, the worst, is death, because now it becomes ineffective. You cannot be able to treat the bacteria. So you end up losing a person. You end up losing a breadwinner. You end up losing a child because of antimicrobial resistance. So those are some of the complication. Organ failures. You can get kidney failures, especially the kidney. You can get even some complication like the bladder is infected again and again. The bladder is infected. You get some of the complication of the organ, the bladder, urinary incontinence. Now the sphincter that controls urine is destroyed, is weak. You can't control urine, you see? All those complications. There's so many complications.
So many complications.
Even if you discuss them organ by organ, there are so many. So you just understand they can lead to organ destruction, organ failures. Yes. Meningitis, very severe complication.
Which is like,
yes, when it goes to the brain, you can imagine now. Now you're treating meningitis, which is resistant to antibiotic. Can you imagine? Leading to many complications, including paralysis, memory loss. You become like what we call vegetative state.
You can't do anything because, I mean, at the end of the day, the brain is
damaged.
And it's what, like, you know, does like almost everything. It's like the most important organ, I would say. Because if it's not able then to communicate with the other parts of the body,
then you're dead.
Actually,
when the brain dies is when a person dies. Yes.
All right. So then what do we do to prevent cases of antimicrobial resistance? And I'm really, really concerned, again, for the children, because suppose they are exposed to all those factors that we talked about that, of course, contribute to antimicrobial or antibiotic resistance. And you see they're still growing up. So, of course, the exposure is pretty much, So then what do we do to prevent cases of antimicrobial resistance?
What we do, Winnie, number one, sensitization and education. Let the public be sensitized, educated, about this antimicrobial resistance, let them be told the importance of taking their children or even going to seek medical attention from a qualified health facility or practitioner when they fall sick.
Yeah.
Let them seek medical attention. Let people avoid self-medication.
Yeah.
Self-medication. Let us be compliant to medication that we have been given. Let us comply. If it's 10 days, just take for 10 days. If it is 2 weeks, take for 2 weeks. It's 5 days. That compliance is what we need. Let people, let the veterinary sector also give the animals that fall sick appropriate medication. Also, the farmers treat the animals that fall sick. Don't just say, let me see whether it is going to respond. I'm going to give them some herbal plants or something. And also stop becoming a vet yourself. That now you know the drugs to give. Because this animal was treated 1 year ago, so I am able to know the drug to give. Let us have proper waste management systems in our counties, in our cities. Let us also stop using human manure, livestock manure for farming. Let us, the government cannot just sometimes do things from the blues. Sometimes the problem is that they don't tell people why they're doing it. Let us stop using livestock manure in our farms. Even waste management in our homes, let it be the best. Don't just dispose your waste anywhere. Let us have pit latrines in homes. Yes. And also we have said about waste management in urban cities, in our industries, the effluents that they dispose in the rivers and in our water bodies, let them first be treated before they are released into these water bodies.
Yes. All right.
Those are some of the prevention. There are so many. Let us go and buy original medication, medication that is not fake or counterfeit. Now that lies with the board that is has been given the mandate to regulate and to ensure that the drugs that enter this country are safe for human consumption. Make sure when you buy a drug, check on the expiry date. Please check on the expiry date. Don't just buy a drug, take it. Ask, because somebody can sell a drug that is expired. Knowing or unknowingly.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Dr. Ari, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
I think at the end of the day, just to sum it up is, let's be mindful of
Mindful
everything
of
that
others.
we do,
Yes.
whether it's the food, whether other habits or anything like that. Let us be mindful. So we have to end the show right now. My name is Winnie Lubembe. On behalf of an entire team who put together this show, we wish you a lovely day ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll be discussing about ectopic pregnancy. So that is a topic that you do not want to miss. But for now, have yourselves a lovely day and have yourselves a lovely month as well. Let it be productive. Goodbye.